Hello everyone, and welcome back to our Silver Moments. My name is Colleen, and if this is your first time visiting here, welcome. I hope that I can prepare something, help you learn to prepare something that will help you and your family in the days to come. So today I went to the cupboard and I was looking for a jar of beans, canned beans, the Boston baked or Bush's style beans that we make here, and realized that I was out. So it was time to get a new batch on. It's a simple, easy recipe that would work well for beginners, but if you haven't tried it yourself, you should try it. So I'm going to encourage you to do that, and that's what we're going to do today, and I will be right back after this. So you could probably use just about any kind of small bean. I'm using these, they're called white navy beans. I prefer these. They cook up really nice and they're quite delicious actually. There's something that my mother used to cook with when I was growing up and that I'm familiar with. So here we go. I have now I'm going to have trouble. I have a 900 gram bag, which I believe is close to 2 pounds. So I am going to just pour these into my strainer, and I'm just gonna run through them with my hands a few times and make sure that the beans that are in here, that there's none that are like that one, worm-eaten, or have imperfections or are discolored or have rocks. Sometimes the process of bagging them, they get little rocks in them, and we don't want to bite into one of them as we eat the beans. So, and I don't know about you, but I have purchased canned beans from the store, and when you get into the bean, you find ones that are, you know, black on the end or something. I want good beans for my home canned beans, so I'm going to be a little bit more vigilant maybe. So next step in this process is I'm going to rinse these beans. I'm going to put them in my big pot. I'm going to cover them with water, probably about an inch of water over top of the beans, and then I'm going to bring them to a boil. Once they've come to a boil, I am going to shut them off and leave them for an hour just to soak. And then I'll be back for the next step. I'll see you soon. So the beans have been on this, just off to the side of the stove for an hour now, where they've been soaking in the hot water. And now I'm going to drain the beans and I'm going to cover them with fresh water, put them back onto the stove, and let them simmer for 30 minutes. And when they start to simmer, I'll be back and show you how the sauce goes together. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. We're gonna get busy with the sauce. I have the beans in the fresh water in the pot on the stove. I've brought it to a boil and turned it down to a simmer, and that's been simmering about 10 minutes now, I think. And so I thought it's time to get on with the sauce. The sauce doesn't require a lot of cooking. It just needs an opportunity to kind of get married and everything to get distributed inside the sauce so that it's ready when we put it into the jars and ready for the canner. So you need one good-sized onion, and I'm not going to be too particular about how it's chopped. I'm trying to be mindful that I don't take my eyes off the onion when I'm cutting it, because I've had a couple of you say that you hold my breath when I just nilly-willy slice and not look. So I'm going to try and be more mindful of that. And I know some of you might be surprised that I haven't cut myself more than I probably have. Now this is starting to look like a pretty big onion, but I'd say probably we need 1.5 cups of onion. Of course, if you like more onion in, then by all means add more onion. But also something else you could add, I didn't today, but I have in the past. You could add bacon to this. I fry it first, by the thick bacon, the bacon that's been cured but not cut into slices, if you can find that. If not, just use regular bacon, and definitely cook some of the fat out of it first so you don't have that floating around in your jars. But it does add a really nice flavor for sure to your beans. So into a pot, and to that I'm going to add some tomato juice, and I am using canned tomato juice from the store because it's cheaper, and because this is going to be cooked with other things in it, I don't need that pure flavor that I would get from my home canned tomato sauce. So I'm looking for 2 quarts, or I guess it's 2 liters here in Canada, and I'm not going to measure. I'm going to believe this is so. That's the way I've done it in the past anyway. Just a can, which is 1.36 liters. So I guess it's not quite that much. 1.63 liters. And then I'm going to, the same with this. This is a tomato sauce, and I just brought this called the store brand because it was cheaper. And it is, maybe I should measure so you have an idea. It is 3 cups. So that should give you a bit of an idea. So quite a quart. Now comes all the spicy goodies. We need 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Just gives it a little pep. And I'm going to put in 1.5 tablespoons of liquid smoke. I think I've got that much left in my bottle. I just buy the natural hickory smoke. I'm sure probably wherever you are, you can find this in your store if they're in big stores. I know that some of the smaller chains don't carry liquid smoke, but most of the bigger ones do. And we use them for saucy meatballs too. Oh, look at that. It's a little more than a half, but pretty good. That's, one's finished. Now I'm going to put some, oh no, let's put some molasses in there. I'm going to put in 1/2 cup of molasses, and this gives it that depth of flavor that you can't get any other way. I think I should have picked a bigger pot though. So 1/2 cup of molasses. I hope everybody's doing well. Here today is it's my son's birthday. It's the 30th of May today. And we are just at that point where it should be safe to plant our garden. So that's what I've been working at most of the day. This is one of those recipes you can set part of it to go, then you can go do something and come back again. So it's good if you're doing a busy day. If you get everything set up the night before onto the counter, then you're probably good to go. I just need to grab the brown sugar, and I'll be right back. Okay, now I've got the brown sugar. I'm going to add 2 cups of brown sugar. Now if you find this too sweet, you can definitely you know, pull back on the sugar. You can adjust it to suit your taste. We are going to pressure can this today, and I'm going to do it in my electric canner, which if you haven't already purchased one, there's something I would recommend because I have enjoyed mine to no end. We need 1 teaspoon of, oh, let me look at the recipe. We need 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper, and I've got those freshly ground. I'm just going to add them in. And we're going to add a teaspoon of allspice. Just double checking because allspice is powerful. And of course, this will add a little pep to it as well. This is ground mustard, and I'm going to put in maybe about a tablespoon and a half. Yeah, I'll put in a tablespoon and a half. Now, there's the half. Let's see if I can get the top off this. Make this a little quicker. There we go, tablespoon and a half. And I feel like I've gone through all the ingredients, and I'm just gonna grab the wooden spoon off the pot. Now I'm gonna give this a stir, and I'm going to put it onto the stove and bring it to a bubble and just let it simmer until we're ready to put it in the jars. So about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and we'll be ready to get this into the jars. So I will be back right then. Well, here we are with the sauce all heated through and the beans all ready, and they are a little al dente, but pretty soft. I probably could have cooked them a little less. And they still got a little tooth to them, which is, you know, you want that because they're going to be in the canner for quite some time. I'm going to start off today with 4 quarts jars, because, you know, when you have company over in the summer and you're trying to come up with some quick recipes that you don't have to do a lot of cooking for, you're going to need them in, you know, maybe a little bigger size. I do almost everything in pints or half pints because there's just 2 of us. But with summer approaching, we're going to need a few bigger jars in the cupboard. In fact, tomorrow my son and his wife are coming for dinner, and one of these jars will probably get opened for dinner tomorrow. Now you want to fill the jar about 3/4 full, between 2/3 and 3/4, keeping in mind that you want to have 1-inch headspace in here. So I'm going to do these 4 quarts that I've got out, which is the exact number that'll fit in my electric canner. I'll put the beans all in, and then I'll put the sauce in, and then I'll move on to doing the rest in pint jars. This makes such a difference for summertime. Well, anytime. If you like beans at all, then this is also a reasonably priced recipe, because beans are cheap to buy. Now let's see what I get out of this today. Betcha there's some of you that are watching from places. I saw on the news that Texas is having a heat wave. My goodness. We're still worried about frost here, which will take out our crops, but I know that's not any less. It looks like it's going to be 4 quarts in here today. I know that that's not any less traumatic than what you're experiencing there, so my thoughts are with you for sure. There we go. So 4 quarts is what I'm going to get out of this now. Different beans are going to give you different amounts, and maybe I should have doubled this recipe because I think I have enough sauce for double this recipe. But the difference could be that the beans have been dried more, or they have been kept in the cupboard longer, and so yeah, you don't get the same result as if they were reasonably fresh. So I'm just going to put the funnel back on and ladle these jars full. They all look like they're at about 3/4. And making sure that I get some onions in there as I go. And I promise you, You're going to enjoy this recipe if you give this a go. Now these beans still haven't, you know, been hydrated to their full extent, so they will definitely consume more of this liquid. Now I'm just going to do this all, and then I'll go back and I will make sure that there's no bubbles in them. Yeah, I think I might do another batch, but not today. Today I'm also gardening, and this was giving me my back a breather, coming inside and doing this. I was really fortunate. A couple of years ago, my husband found this fantastic contractor who built me garden boxes that are about this high on me, and so I don't have to get down on my hands and knees to garden, but there's still lots of plants to pot, flowers to get into containers and so forth, so it requires a lot of that kind of work, and I'm trying to pull it all off in one day. So we'll see how successful that is. I'm almost done, actually. I'm almost finished. We were away for a couple of weeks to the other side of the country. We went to Nova Scotia and had a fantastic time while we were there. And while we were gone, the weeds in our garden grew, or in our yard, grew like mad, and our lawn was 1.5 feet high when we got home. Yeah, I've got enough in there probably for 2 more quarts. So I think I will put that into some jars into the fridge, and maybe tomorrow if I have time I'll run another batch so that I've got some extra on hand. Now, I think these are beauties myself. I'm just going to use a knife and be careful not to scrape too far down the jar and cause the glass any issues. Just to make sure we get all the air bubbles out of there, because these beans take up a lot of space. And then I can add more sauce to them if it was full of bubbles, and I can see I'm going to have to add to some of these jars for sure. Now these quart jars will go into my pressure canner, and I am at high elevation, so I'm going to use my Nesco with the green weighted gauge, and I am going to cook these jars for 90 minutes at 15 pounds pressure. When I do pints, I do them for 75 minutes, which I think is the food guide rules is that anyway, because they're low acid food. And I'm just going to get my cloth. I'm going to give the rims a quick wipe. You don't want anything between the rim and the seal. And the new food guide rules also tell us that we don't have to parboil our seals anymore, because they are going to be in the pressure canner for more than 10 minutes. So they're going on. The bands are going on fingertip tight. That's an old ring. I think I'm going to replace it. You can see it's a little battered and bruised, so let's throw that one out. Whew, they're hot. Okay, into the canner they go. And you could totally do these in a traditional canner if you had a traditional pressure canner, you just follow the rules for your elevation. If it's under 1,000 feet, then 10 pounds pressure. Over 1,000 feet, we are going to 15 pounds pressure, 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts, and then make sure that you let the pressure come down completely in your canner before you try to remove the lid. That's really important. And make sure that if it's a lid that you can open away from you, that you do that so that you don't worry about steam burns. Once the, well, I make a practice of once I have the canner lid open, I leave the jars in the canner for another 10 or 15 minutes just to help them adjust to the new pressure that they're under. So folks, I hope that you've enjoyed this and that it'll be something that you can add to your list of quick things to put together. This goes really well with the canned coleslaw that I make, and there's a recipe for that in my list of small batch canning, but maybe I'll put a link to it below as well. So then really all you need is protein, and then you've got a whole meal. So until we meet again, I hope that you all still stay well and safe, and try to stay out of the sun. I've managed to get a little bit. Try to stay out of the sun and take good care. I will see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.